Hi, and welcome to Reddit Confessions. What you're about to hear isn't a fairy tale. It's not a lesson, either. It's just what happened. The shower was still running upstairs when I packed the last of my things. She always took long showers after coming back from him. Hot enough to burn. Long enough to forget. The hallway smelled like eucalyptus and guilt. Her robe was slung over the railing like nothing was wrong. Like nothing had been wrong for months. I didn't slam a door. I didn't leave a note. I just grabbed my backpack, opened the front door, and then I heard her voice behind me. Don't be mad. Soft. Careful. Like I was a stray dog that might bite. I didn't even turn around. I just said, then don't wonder why I vanished without a trace. And I left. But let's rewind 3 hours. 3 hours earlier, I was staring at her phone. Unlocked. Open. I didn't go searching. It lit up while she was brushing her teeth. And I saw it. You're like oxygen to me. Can't wait for Thursday. Sent by someone saved under the name Delivery Guy. Cute. Creative. I didn't get angry. I just went numb. It wasn't even the first message. It was the last one in a thread that stretched back 6 months. Hotel check-ins. Explicit photos. I love how quiet he is. He doesn't ask questions. That one hit me the hardest. I scrolled with a trembling thumb, reading how she told him everything I didn't do. How I was too soft. Too predictable. Too much like a husband. Not enough like a risk. I closed the phone. Put it back. Made tea with shaking hands. She came downstairs in her gym clothes. Told me she was going out for a walk. Kissed me on the forehead. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, take your time. She did. I opened the closet and started packing. 2 shirts. Charger. Passport. My hands weren't angry. They were free. And that terrified me. The thing is, this wasn't even the first betrayal. No. The first one happened 9 months ago. But I stayed. I stayed after I found the hotel receipt. I stayed after I found the second phone. I stayed when she cried and said she was just confused. I even stayed when she told me, calmly, that she didn't regret it, but she regretted hurting me. Like that made it better. People think it's easy to leave. It's not. It's easier to disappear than to scream. And that's what I did. When I stepped outside, I didn't look back. Didn't even shut the door properly. Let the wind do it. By nightfall, I was 3 towns away. No calls. No texts. Just silence. But this story doesn't end with me leaving. Because she came looking. And she didn't come alone. I expected silence. That's what I'd planned for. I imagined the void swallowing up the days. Imagined her sitting in our kitchen slowly realizing I wasn't coming back. No note. No fight. No trail to follow. Just an empty chair, half a closet, and the sound of her own breathing. I wanted the silence to hurt. I wanted it to echo. But instead, 3 days after I disappeared, I got a knock. Not a text. Not a call. A knock. On the motel door. I froze. No one knew where I was. I'd paid in cash, bought a burner phone, even registered under a fake name, Eric T. Why Eric? I don't know. I panicked. I wasn't trying to be clever. I was trying to disappear. I approached the door quietly, peeked through the peephole, and there she was. Emily, my wife, wearing a puffer jacket over the same hoodie she used to steal from me. She looked exhausted, eyes red, mascara smudged, but still somehow smug. And beside her, a man, not delivery guy, someone older, cleaner, balding a little at the temples, wore glasses, carried himself like he was in charge. A lawyer? A therapist? I couldn't tell. But she looked at him before she knocked again. I didn't open the door. She called my name. Not the pet name she used to use. Not Teddy or Bub. Just Thadwick. Flat. Like she was reading it off a clipboard. She said, I just want to talk. Then a pause. This is getting ridiculous. Getting? I stepped back from the door, heart hammering. My mind raced. How did she find me? I hadn't used a credit card, hadn't told a soul. I left no note, no clue. Unless. I checked my backpack. Dug through the side pouch. And there it was. My Kindle. My synced Kindle, linked to our shared Amazon account. I hadn't even thought about it. But of course she saw the new book downloads. Of course she'd tracked the IP. I sat on the edge of the bed, nauseous. My escape, undone by a digital paperweight. She knocked again, harder this time. Thad, I'm not leaving until you talk to me. Please. I didn't say a word. After a few minutes, I heard footsteps. Fading. The lawyer-looking guy must have convinced her to go. Maybe he was damage control. Maybe he wasn't even a lawyer. Maybe he was her new therapist, dragging her to confront the ghost of her husband before she could move on with her other one. But then, I heard the scrape. Something slid under the door. A small envelope. And then silence. I waited a full hour before touching it. My hands shook like I was defusing a bomb. I half expected it to explode. Inside the envelope was a single photograph. A Polaroid. Of us. Taken 4 years ago at a roadside diner in South Dakota. She was holding a milkshake, grinning at me like I'd just told the best joke in the world. I looked awkward. As usual. My collar was crooked. Her thumb was on my cheek. On the back, she'd written, "We weren't always broken." That's it. No apology. No, I miss you. Just a memory. Handpicked and weaponized. But what shook me wasn't the message. It was the photo itself. Because that photo wasn't from her collection. It was from mine. I kept it tucked in my desk drawer, folded inside a card she gave me on our 5th anniversary. There's no way she had it unless she'd gone through my things after I vanished. She'd been in the house. After I left. She'd gone through my drawers. My keepsakes. My private thoughts. Looking for what? Ammunition? Clues. I felt sick. Not because she found me, but because she wanted to rewrite the story. She wanted to turn this into some romantic tragedy. A misunderstanding. A misstep we could work through with enough therapy and tea. But I wasn't confused. I wasn't running because I didn't love her. I was running because I finally realized she never really loved me. Not for who I was. She loved the idea of me. The structure. The stillness. The predictable walls she could bounce her chaos off of. And once the chaos had a new wall to hit, I was obsolete. But now she wanted me back. And I was about to find out just how far she'd go to make that happen. The motel room started to feel smaller after that envelope. The walls hadn't changed, but the air had. Every sound outside the door became suspicious. Every knock on a neighboring room. Every shuffle of feet in the hallway. I kept thinking she might come back, that she might try again. But she didn't. Not that night. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, replaying every memory that photo summoned, and realizing how many of them were probably based on lies. Back then, I thought we were building something. Turns out, she was decorating a cage and calling it home. The next morning, I went to a public library, used their Wi-Fi, burner phone in one hand, laptop borrowed from the front desk in the other. I logged into our Amazon account, changed the password, logged out of everything. No more breadcrumbs. Then I did something I swore I wouldn't do. I checked her social media. Now, Emily never posted much. She was more of a lurker. But this time, there were updates, subtle ones. A black and white selfie captioned, "Healing isn't linear." A story post of a book called The Betrayal Paradox. A song link titled Happier Before. And then the real kicker, a photo of a mug, my mug. The one with the chipped handle and faded national parks are my therapy print, sitting on our kitchen counter. The caption read, "Some things are hard to let go of." And just like that, she turned me into the one who walked out for no reason. She wasn't mourning me. She was mourning the image of herself as someone left behind. She wanted sympathy. She wanted her friends, our friends, to ask what happened. She wanted to say, "He just disappeared. I guess he couldn't handle things." She wanted to be the victim too. I was furious. Not the loud kind of furious. The buried kind. The kind that tightens in your chest while you pretend to be okay in public. The kind that makes you rehearse arguments alone in parking lots. I decided to write her an email. Not to send it, just to write it. I needed to get it out. I opened a blank document and started typing. "Emily, you keep trying to twist the story. You keep dragging my name through your softlit filters and curated captions. You want me to be the villain because the truth is too boring. You got bored. You left emotionally. Then you stayed physically so you could keep the comfort until something better came along. And when I found out, I didn't throw a fit. I didn't smash things. I just left. That's not cowardice. That's clarity. You don't miss me. You miss the way I made you feel safe while you were lying. But here's the part you're not ready for. I didn't leave because of what you did. I left because of who I became trying to stay." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I closed the laptop without saving. She didn't deserve that clarity. Not yet. By the next day, she had found a new angle. She sent me a voicemail. I listened to it in the laundry room of the motel while my one pair of jeans tumbled in the dryer. "Thadwick, I think we need to talk. I'm not saying I didn't mess up, but we both played a part. You pulled away too. You made it hard to connect. Maybe if we talk through it with someone, like a neutral third party, we can start fresh. I still believe in us." Neutral third party? Start fresh? I nearly laughed. Like this was a roommate disagreement about dishes, not months of deception and emotional manipulation. She wasn't asking for a second chance. She was asking for a clean slate. A rewrite. A second script where she was never the one who shattered anything. But I wasn't interested in therapy. Not the kind that starts after someone breaks the glass and hands you the broom. I deleted the voicemail. Finished folding my clothes. Paid for another 2 nights at the motel. But then, things took a turn I hadn't prepared for. When I walked back to my room, there was a man sitting on the hood of my car. Arms crossed. Clean-shaven. Dark sunglasses, even though it was cloudy. He didn't move as I approached. I stopped halfway across the parking lot and called out, "Can I help you?" He stood up, casually, like we were old friends. "I think we need to have a little chat about Emily." My blood ran cold. Because this man wasn't her lawyer. He wasn't her therapist. And the next words out of his mouth would make everything explode. He wasn't in a rush. That was the worst part. The man stepped away from the hood of my car like he'd been waiting for me to arrive, like I was late. No intimidation, no posturing. He moved with the calm confidence of someone who already knew something I didn't. Like someone who'd rehearsed this conversation, maybe even enjoyed picturing how I'd react. "I'm Beck," he said casually, offering a half smile like we were on the same side of something. "She sent me." The words didn't make sense at first. I must have looked like an idiot standing there, frozen, backpack slung over my shoulder, my motel key clenched in my palm like it was some kind of weapon. The parking lot was nearly empty. The laundry room's humming stopped. And suddenly everything around me felt too quiet. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked. My voice cracked. Not out of fear, out of disbelief. "She sent him?" He nodded, like we were catching up after a long break. "Emily. She figured you wouldn't respond to her directly, so she asked me to reach out. Talk to you. Man to man." I wanted to laugh, but it didn't come. My mouth stayed dry. "Who are you? Her cousin? Her fixer? Her new boyfriend?" Beck grinned. Not maliciously, but like I'd just made a joke that hit a little too close to home. "I used to be involved. A while back. Before you even. But that's not what this is about." I didn't move. I didn't blink. He stepped closer. Not threateningly, worse. Like he was trying to relate to me. "She's spiraling, Thadwick," he said. "I know you think she's manipulating you. And hey, I've been there. Believe me. But she's not okay. She's unraveling. You just vanishing? That's not helping." I took a breath. Shaky. Shallow. "So this is some kind of intervention?" Beck chuckled. "Nah. I'm not here to drag you back. I just think you should hear what I heard before you decide she's evil incarnate." I crossed my arms. "Then talk. I've got 10 minutes before checkout." So he talked. He told me that Emily had reached out to him a week before I left. Apparently, they hadn't spoken in years, not since their complicated whatever it was. But she called him crying. Said she was terrified I'd leave her. Said she felt me slipping away. Claimed she had made a stupid, isolated mistake, and that I'd blown it out of proportion. "Look," Beck said, hands in his pockets, "I know what you're thinking. That she's using me. That she's playing a game. Maybe she is. I don't really care. I'm not here for her. I'm here for you." Because the guy she described? The guy who folded laundry at a motel in silence instead of burning down the house. That guy's not a monster. I didn't respond. He went on. "She told me you never raised your voice. That when you found out, you just left. No screaming. No ultimatums. She said it was the quietest devastation she's ever seen. Like you disappeared into yourself before you disappeared from the house." Still, I said nothing. I was trying to process it all. Not the words. The why. Why would she send him? Was she really trying to fix things? Or was this just another layer of manipulation? Another attempt to reframe her betrayal into some poetic narrative where we both hurt each other equally? And then he said something I didn't expect. "She also said she never told you about the inheritance." That stopped me cold. "What?" Beck raised his eyebrows. "You didn't know?" I shook my head slowly. "She came into some money," he said. "From her uncle. A few months ago. Not a ton, but enough. She didn't tell you because she said she didn't want you to feel weird about it. Said she wanted to use some of it to start over. Alone, if necessary." My hands started tingling. I felt unsteady, like the ground shifted half an inch beneath me. This was new. This wasn't part of the messages. This wasn't in the photos or the emails. This was a completely different betrayal. She'd made it seem like she needed me to survive. All the while, she was building a separate exit, in secret. Beck could see it in my face. I thought you should know. Whatever happens, man, at least walk away with the full story. He turned to go, but before he walked off, he stopped and looked back. For what it's worth, I don't think she's good at being alone. She builds people like scaffolding. Once they stop holding her up, she moves on. Doesn't mean she's evil. Just means she's unfinished. And with that, he left. I stood there in the parking lot for a long time. Too long. Long enough that someone from the front desk came out to check if I was okay. I wasn't. But I wasn't broken either. I went back to my room, sat on the edge of the bed, stared at the chipped table with the coffee ring I'd made 2 days ago. Then I opened my phone and typed one sentence into the Notes app. What if she wasn't the only one hiding something? And that's when I remembered something I hadn't thought about in months. A name I'd buried under the weight of trying to fix a marriage that was already gone. A name from before her. A name that, once spoken, would start an entirely new chain of events I wasn't ready for. But it was already too late. Because she had found him first. It's strange how memory works. Some names vanish from your mind the second someone says them, like vapor in sunlight. Others cling like smoke, showing up in places they shouldn't. That name, the one I remembered after Beck left, it was one of the sticky ones. It belonged to someone I hadn't spoken to in 6 years. Someone who used to know me better than Emily ever tried to. Someone who pulled me out of a darkness I never admitted I was in. Someone I pushed away when I thought I was getting better, when I thought Emily was my fresh start. Her name was Nora. We weren't lovers. We weren't exactly friends, either. We were something in between, the kind of bond that doesn't have a name because people like to put things in boxes, and we refuse to be boxed. I met her during group therapy back in Milwaukee, when I was clawing out of a 2-year depression like a man buried alive. She never judged me. She challenged me, even when I hated her for it. Especially then. I hadn't thought about her in years. I buried that chapter when Emily came along. Burned the old journals. Deleted the contact. Started over. Because that's what you do when someone promises they'll love all the broken parts of you. You erase the people who actually did. But now I couldn't stop thinking about Nora. Because I knew something Emily didn't. Nora doesn't forgive betrayal. And she definitely doesn't forget it. I don't know what made me check. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was a part of me that still believed Nora kept tabs on the world just in case it ever needed to burn. I opened the burner phone and made a new email. I didn't write to Nora. I searched for her. And what I found didn't make sense. An Instagram account, private, but the profile photo was unmistakable. Same dark curls, same unfiltered eyes. Bio said, human first, ghost second. And under that, following Emily C. My pulse went wild. I clicked Emily's account. She followed Nora. Nora followed back. They'd been connected for at least 2 weeks, probably longer. What the hell was happening? I sat on the edge of the motel bed again, staring at the wall like it might answer me. Had Emily found Nora on purpose? Had she gone digging through my past now? Was this some twisted attempt to control the narrative, reach back into the places I'd sealed off and poison them too? And then it got worse. I checked Nora's recent post, one of the few that wasn't private. A black screen. No photo. Just a caption that made my stomach sink. When they lie to you, remember, they practiced on someone else first. 32 likes. 1 comment. From Emily. Powerful. You always speak truth. The rage that hit me wasn't loud. It was quiet. Cold. Focused. I thought she was rewriting the story, but she wasn't just rewriting our story. She was repurposing my pain, borrowing the bones of the man I used to be and turning them into her personal redemption arc. And Nora? She was either playing along, or she didn't know who Emily really was. Either way, it was war now. I packed what little I had into the same backpack, threw on a jacket, left the motel key on the nightstand with $20 for the housekeeper and no explanation. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to find Nora before Emily told her whatever version of the story she'd cooked up. The story where I was the one who abandoned her, the cold husband who emotionally distanced himself until she had no choice. I drove 3 hours through sleet and silence, replaying the last conversation I ever had with Nora. It ended with her saying, "Don't call me when it's too late. I'm not your emergency exit." But now, I was the emergency, and the exit might already be closed. By the time I reached her town, it was dark. Snow was coming down hard. I parked outside the small coffee shop where she used to work. It was still there, still open, still named Second Draft. Because of course it was. Inside, the lights were warm, fogged with steam. I didn't see her. I didn't expect to, but I stepped inside anyway. Ordered the worst decaf latte I've ever tasted. Sat in the back. Waited. An hour passed. Then I heard a voice behind me. Low. Familiar. And laced with acid. You really shouldn't have come here. I turned slowly. Nora stood there in a green coat, scarf loose. Eyes locked on mine like she'd seen a ghost and decided not to flinch. But her face wasn't what stopped my breath. It was the woman standing 2 steps behind her. Emily. Smiling. There are certain moments where time doesn't slow down. It just detaches. That's what this was. The air didn't get thick, and my heartbeat didn't drown out the world. It was worse than that. It was quiet. Still. Like the moment right before an avalanche when everything feels calm, and then the mountain decides to move. Emily stood behind Nora, half-shadowed by the golden light spilling through the cafe window. She looked different, but not in a way anyone else would notice. Her smile was soft, polite even. But her eyes, they weren't there. She was performing. Nora hadn't moved. She didn't even blink. Her voice had been sharp when she told me I shouldn't have come, but now her silence said more than anything else. Her jaw was tight. Her fingers were curled into fists in the pockets of her coat. She wasn't surprised to see Emily there. That was the part that broke something in me. I finally found the words. What is this? Emily stepped forward like we were at a dinner party. A conversation, she said calmly. One that's been a long time coming. I glanced at Nora. Her eyes flicked sideways, not at Emily, but at the exit. Subtle. Fast. Like she was deciding whether this was still in her control. Emily pulled out the chair across from me and sat. Like this was a therapy session. Like I was the one who needed to explain myself. I didn't sit back down. I stayed standing. Let me guess, I said. You reached out to her. Told her I ghosted you. Spun the story into a modern tragedy. You, the abandoned wife. Me, the runaway coward. Emily tilted her head. I told her the truth. Nora's voice cut through. You told me your truth. Emily turned slightly, smile dimming just a fraction. It was quick, but I saw it. The tension between them wasn't new. It had been building. I didn't know, Nora said, eyes still on me. Not at first. I only knew what she told me. That you left without explanation. That she was trying to process the collapse. That you refused to talk. And yet here you both are, I said, trying to steady my voice. In the same room. Coordinated? Or did I just walk into your social experiment? Emily's lips pressed together. You left a hole, Thadwick. I had to fill it somehow. Those words, I had to fill it, hit differently. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. Nora slowly stepped around to my side of the table, not looking at Emily anymore. She was staring at me, like she was trying to pull something out of my face. Did you cheat on her? She asked. Even emotionally? Before you left? It was the one thing I didn't expect her to ask. And it stung. No, I said. Never. Not once. Not with you. Not with anyone. She searched my eyes. Something shifted in her expression. Slight. Sharp. Like a string that had been held too tight, just loosened. Emily laughed quietly. You really expect her to believe that? You kept your entire history with her buried from me for our entire marriage. That's because you erase people when you're done with them? I snapped. I didn't want her dragged into the mess I was trying to survive. I didn't hide Nora to protect myself. I did it to protect her from you. Emily's face hardened. That mask of control cracked for half a second, and behind it, I saw the real emotion. Rage? Shame? Maybe just fear. But then it was gone. You've rewritten everything, I said. You've painted yourself as the victim, contacted the one person I thought was outside your reach, and now you want what? Reconciliation? Closure? Public sympathy? Emily stood slowly, palms flat on the table. I want accountability. For what? I asked. For disappearing without slamming the door? For not reacting the way you needed me to, so you could play the martyr convincingly? Nora stepped between us. Not because she was scared, but because she was done. That's enough, she said, staring at Emily now. You didn't tell me about the burner phone, or the messages, or the fact that you kept tabs on his Kindle location. You said he abandoned you. You never said you hunted him. Emily's jaw tightened. I was trying to get closure. No, Nora said. You were trying to control the story. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. Everyone in the cafe could feel it now. A few people glanced over. One barista turned the music up just slightly, probably hoping to drown out whatever tension was about to boil over. Emily turned to me, voice suddenly soft again. That dangerous softness. I made mistakes, Thadwick. I won't deny that. But so did you. You shut down. You made yourself untouchable. You didn't just leave, you erased me. I didn't respond. Because in that moment, I finally understood something I hadn't allowed myself to admit before. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted the last word. And if she couldn't get it through pity, she'd get it through performance. Without saying anything more, I turned to Nora. Don't let her turn you into a footnote, I said. Nora nodded. Just once. Then I walked out of that cafe. I didn't look back. Not until I heard the words Emily shouted behind me, loud enough for everyone to hear. You never told her about the storage unit, did you? I stopped. Because I hadn't. And only one other person knew what was inside. The second she said it, I stopped breathing. I hadn't thought about the storage unit in years. Not once since I left Milwaukee. Not when I married Emily. Not even after I packed up my life and drove away like I was erasing myself. It was a ghost, a dusty file in the back of my mind, buried under passwords I deliberately forgot. But hearing her say those words, in front of Nora, in front of strangers, in that too-warm coffee shop, it was like she reached into my past and lit a match. I turned slowly, but I didn't speak. I didn't have to. She saw it in my eyes. Emily stood there, chin raised, as if she'd dropped a weapon on the floor and was daring me to pick it up. Nora looked confused, and then suddenly tense. She knew enough about me to sense that whatever Emily had just unearthed wasn't something trivial. You told me everything, right? Emily said with a small, sharp smile. Isn't that what you promised her, Nora? That there were no secrets between you two? Nora took a step toward her, voice low and cold. You're not going to manipulate this. But Emily wasn't speaking to her anymore. Her eyes were locked on mine, and she was holding something in her hand, a small envelope, the kind rental companies use for invoices or late fees. She tossed it on the table beside the now-cold coffee and said, Unit 4C, Eastbrook Storage, under your old name. Still locked. Still yours. I didn't touch it. Instead, I turned to Nora and said, I need to talk to you. Alone. Emily laughed, not loudly, but with enough smugness to let us both know she thought she'd won. Go ahead, but you'll want to open that eventually. We walked out into the snow, wordless. My hands were shaking, and not from the cold. I didn't know how she'd found it. I didn't even remember what I'd left there. All I knew was that the unit had been mine before I ever met Emily. A place I kept for the parts of me I wasn't ready to throw away but couldn't face in the light. Therapy notebooks. Letters I never sent. Photos from a childhood I'd stopped romanticizing. One old hard drive. That was the part that haunted me now. The hard drive. Talk to me. Nora said once we reached the car. What's in the unit? I leaned against the hood, closed my eyes, and exhaled slowly. Everything I wanted to forget. Everything I never wanted her to have. Did you give her access? No. I didn't even remember the address until just now. Nora stared at me. Then how did she find it? I didn't answer. Because I already knew. Beck. He said he was just delivering a message. He said he wasn't on her side. But he lied. Whether he meant to or not, he gave her a breadcrumb. Maybe something I said. Maybe something he remembered from years ago. Maybe he didn't even realize he'd done it. But she used it. She found the one place in the world that still held my unfiltered truth, and now she was weaponizing it. She hasn't opened it, I said finally. If she had, she wouldn't be smiling. Nora narrowed her eyes. What's on the hard drive? My mouth went dry. Video sessions. Recordings from before I got help. Before I got better. Me at my worst. Rage. Panic. Isolation. There's one in particular. I recorded myself after I tried to disappear the first time. Before I met you. I was talking like I wasn't planning to come back. Nora didn't flinch. And now she wants to use it. To show the world I've always been unstable, I said. To prove that I was dangerous before she ever lied. That she didn't betray a man, she escaped one. She looked down at the snow-covered sidewalk, then back at me. You can't let her tell that version. I nodded. I won't. But the truth was, I already felt it happening. That's the thing about lies told confidently. They always outrun the truth for a while. I knew what Emily wanted. She didn't want reconciliation. She didn't even want revenge anymore. She wanted the story. She wanted to be the one who controlled what people believed. She wanted to be the one who got to say, he wasn't well. I tried to help, but he pushed me away. Because in that version, she could erase all the betrayal, all the manipulation, the second phone, the tracking, the emotional wreckage. In that version, I was the one who broke the glass. But I wasn't going to let her win. Not again. I got in the car. Nora sat in the passenger seat without question. I turned the key and pulled out of the lot without another word. We didn't talk for the first hour. Not until the city skyline started to fade behind us and the storage facility came into view, its rusted sign half covered in snow. Eastbrook Storage. Unit 4C. We parked in silence. I took the envelope Emily had thrown on the table and used the key she'd somehow recovered. My hands trembled as I unlocked the door. It creaked open slowly, and inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Except for one thing. Sitting in the center of the concrete floor, on top of an old cardboard box labeled "Do Not Open," was a bright red flash drive. New, clean, unmarked, and I hadn't put it there. I stared at the flash drive like it was ticking. It didn't belong there. That much was clear. I hadn't left anything new in the unit. I hadn't used this space since the early years of therapy. But now, right in the center of everything I'd tried to forget, sat a bright red USB like an accusation. Or a challenge. Nora stepped forward before I could move. "Don't touch it yet," she said. "Let's be smart." I nodded. My mind was already racing with possibilities. Was it planted by Emily? A trap? A peace offering? A bluff? We drove to a public library 30 minutes away, one neither of us had ever visited. A neutral place. No sign-ins. No connections. Just anonymity. I plugged in the flash drive using a loaner computer and opened the only file inside. It was a video. My stomach clenched when I saw the first frame. Emily, sitting in what looked like our old living room. She wasn't posing. She wasn't dressed for drama. She looked tired, worn out, but composed. She stared at the camera for a full 10 seconds before she spoke. "If you're watching this, I'm assuming you found the unit, and that you know what's in it. And maybe you've already watched those old videos of yourself. Maybe you hate me for remembering them at all. But this isn't a trap. I swear it. This isn't blackmail. It's not revenge. It's not even closure. I wanted you to see me honest for once." She shifted uncomfortably. "I lied. A lot. To you. To myself. To people who tried to help. I painted you as cold because it made me feel warm. I told people you left without warning because I couldn't bear to say you left after finding out what I'd done. The truth is, I hurt you before you ever hurt me. And you leaving? That was the first real boundary anyone had ever drawn with me. And I resented it because it made me look at myself. And I didn't like what I saw." She paused again, eyes watery but not crying. "I don't deserve a response. Or forgiveness. But I needed you to know I finally told the truth. To Beck. To Nora. Even to my own family. They know the real version now." Then, for the first time in the entire recording, she smiled. Not the polished, manipulative smile. Something real. Small. Almost human. "If you can rebuild, do it. If not for you, then for the version of you who tried so hard to hold everything together. He deserves peace." And that was it. No dramatics. No signature. Just a quiet click as the camera stopped. I sat there for a long time after it ended. Nora didn't speak. She just placed a hand on my shoulder, not to comfort me, but to anchor me. Because that was the thing. I hadn't just run from Emily. I'd run from my entire story. My guilt. My silence. My fear of being misunderstood, or worse, understood and still abandoned. But now I felt something I hadn't let myself feel in months. Done. Not victorious. Not vindicated. Just done. And that was enough. That night, Nora and I drove back to a quiet stretch of road outside town. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was safe, respectful, honest. I threw the flash drive in the river. Not out of anger. Out of release. I didn't need it to prove anything anymore. I didn't need revenge, or a stage, or a dramatic final word. I just needed to live forward, without dragging every broken piece behind me like luggage no one ever asked me to carry. Emily faded out of my life after that. Quietly. No more messages. No more envelopes. No social media posts hinting at victimhood. Maybe she changed. Maybe not. But for once, I didn't feel responsible for the ending. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you've ever had to walk away from someone not because you stopped loving them, but because they stopped being true with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What part of this story hit you hardest? And have you ever had someone rewrite your truth? Drop your experience below. We read every single one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new confession. We'll see you in the next story.